Hello friends, welcome back to my channel Code with Santosh. In this chapter we are going to learn about how to use CSS in HTML. This video is particularly for those people who are beginners in HTML. Okay, so for expert level developers, they know how to use CSS in HTML file, but those people who are just beginner and they have just started learning HTML and CSS, they might not know about how to use CSS in a HTML file. So this video dedicates to those people who are just beginners in HTML and CSS. Okay, so let me try to write how can we use CSS in a HTML file. So there are three ways. Okay, so let me write these three ways. First is inline CSS. Second is internal CSS. And fourth one is external CSS. External CSS. So we all know that CSS is very important, and without CSS your HTML won't look good on the browser. So you definitely need CSS to build a website or a web page. Okay. So what is inline CSS? So let me first discuss that inline CSS. So mainly there are three ways you can use the CSS in your HTML file. So first one is inline CSS. As its name suggests, that inline CSS, that you can use this CSS with the HTML element itself. Okay, so suppose let me write a p tag. Okay, so this is the p tag, and I am just copy and pasting this here inline CSS. So this is your HTML element, and here you have some content. Okay, so you can add an attribute here, and the attribute is style. So in this style you can define whatever you want. Okay, so let me write something. So I will write that font size will be 20 pixel and the color will be blue. Okay, so this is how you can write inline CSS with the HTML element. So this is a style attribute. We have discussed about the attributes of HTML elements, and in style elements there are certain values associated with it. Okay, so the style is font size, this is 20 pixel and color is blue. We have not discussed about the CSS part, so I will create separate videos for CSS. So we are only concentrating at the moment with HTML only. Okay, so we are not going into the font size, how we can write font size, what is 20 pixel, etc. Okay, we are only discussing the HTML part. So this is how you can use uh, inline CSS. So let me cut this and paste it into a new tab. Okay, and let me save this and run this on the browser. Okay, now you can see that the color is blue and the font size of this element is 20 pixels. So this is how you can write inline CSS. So you can give whatever the properties are there. Okay, so the next one is internal CSS. So what does it mean? So internal CSS means that your CSS will be there in HTML file itself. Okay, so you are not writing it here, and you are just writing that CSS here in head. So this is a style, and in style the type you have describing that this is a style part, and it has also closing tag. Here you can write whatever you want. So I will write here say P, and the here I will define the font size as 30 pixel and color as red. Okay, let me save this and I will copy one more P tag here, and here I will remove this style part from this element. Okay, and I will write it as internal. Okay, let me save this. You can see that this text is red and its font size is more than this P element. Okay, this is 30 pixel. So this is how you can define all these your CSS in a style tag. Okay, sorry, a style. Okay, in a style in head tag. So here you can define whatever you have style set for this particular page. Okay, so you can define only those CSS which are applicable to this particular page. Okay, so this is how you can define your CSS here. If I want to write some more CSS, say H6, here the color will be black. Okay, and the font size will be 40 pixel. Okay, I will save this and I will create another element here as H6. H6, H6, and I will change this text as well. I am H6. Sorry, let me save this and run this. Okay, now you can see the difference. So all your all your CSS which is applicable to this page, you can define all those things here in style. Okay, this is how you can write internal CSS. And our third one is, let me remove this. Our third item is external CSS. So what is external CSS? So external CSS we can use when we have multiple pages and we want to define all those CSS in a separate file named as style.css or whatever you want the name of that file, but its extension should be .css. Okay, so we have one file here, style.css, and I have commented the link here. So this CSS file is not in use for the time being. Okay, let me uncomment this. So now this CSS file we are using. Okay, so you can see that for h1 tag we don't have any CSS here, but here in style CSS we have put some CSS properties here for h1 tag. Okay, so let me save both of the files and run this on the browser. You can see that h1 tag has certain properties defined in the style.css file, and when we link that file here in HTML, now this file is accessible by this HTML page, and whatever the properties we have defined here, and it can use those properties by these tags, HTML tags. Okay, so now let me save this and run this. So you can see that this is coming properly and the style is defined here in a style .css file. So what is the difference between using these three kinds of CSS? Okay, so what is the difference and how you should use properly, like what should be the preferred style of writing this style sheet or CSS thing? Okay, so normally when you have like suppose whenever we are defining CSS here, it is accessible to all those HTML files, not particular index.html. If you have several HTML files, then you don't need to write those uh, styles in the head tag of each of those pages. It will remove your effort, time, etc. Okay, so you will write CSS in one place and it will be accessible to all those HTML pages. So normally all the web developers use external files, okay, so that it is accessible for all those pages, and all the common elements or common properties are defined in styles.css. But you can also, suppose if you have any exception case where this color should be blue, okay, then you can define this. But most of the cases you need to write the css in a style.css file. You don't need to write the style in head tag. You don't need to write the style internally with the HTML tag. You should always try to use the CSS or create CSS in your style.css file. Okay. So this is about the CSS. Let me try to write a p tag here again. So here I will say font size 50 pixel and color as green. Let me save this. You can see that if suppose you have CSS properties defined three places and style.css, and you have also defined the CSS internal to the HTML tag, and you have also some CSS for particular item in head tag as well. Okay, so you can see that whatever we have defined in external CSS, okay, that is not going to override these CSS properties. Okay, so we have defined CSS for p tag here as well. We have defined the CSS for p tag here as well, and it is also here in HTML tag. Okay, so whatever you define in HTML tag, it will have the preference of using these properties. Browser will try to use the properties whatever defined in inline. Okay, so it will, suppose you have used a 30 pixel font size and here you are using 20 pixel font size, then it will use this font size, not this one and not this one. Okay, it will use the font size defined in the HTML tag itself using style. So if I remove this, let me remove this and save this file. Now you can see that both this p tag is using the properties of this paragraph CSS properties, not of this paragraph properties. Okay, so this, if you have two places like in like internal and external, then it will, the p tag or any other tag will use the CSS defined internally in a web page, not external CSS file. Okay, it is using the HTML properties from the file itself, not from a separate CSS file. Okay, but if I remove this style sheet, style as well, and let me save this. Now you can see that it is using the CSS properties defined in CSS file itself. Okay, so now you understand that how we can use the CSS based on our requirement. If you have any properties you want to define here, then you can define in inline, but always try to use the CSS in an external file, not in internal file. Suppose you have any style like color green, blue, okay, but this property you also need in a separate file as well. Then again you need to copy this properties and paste into that separate file, okay. So but if you use it here by using a say class blue text, okay. So here if you use, sorry, color blue, now you can use this CSS class everywhere wherever you require the color of paragraph or any other elements like h1 or any other elements in color blue, then you can use this class itself. So suppose if you are in after some time you have decided that no, this color won't be blue, it will be green, then you only need to change the color here itself, okay. You don't need to go to each of the files where you have defined the color as blue and changing all those to green. You only change that particular color to this CSS file and it will reflect everywhere in HTML file, wherever you are using that particular CSS properties, okay. So this is the advantage of using an external file. But if you are also using this CSS in a head tag in a style, then also you need to copy this thing to a separate pages. But if you use external file, then it will automatically get from there itself, okay. So this is the advantage of using external CSS. So I have defined the internal CSS here, and head tag normally developers do the internal CSS in head tag. But if you want, you can use it anywhere. Like you can use it in the footer part. You can use here as well. No restriction is there that you always need to use in head tag. You can use wherever you want, but normally developers try to use either in head or in footer section, okay. So this is all about the CSS and how can you use that CSS in your HTML file. So that's all for this video. Before moving forward, if you like my video, please like, share and subscribe my channel. It will give me a huge motivation to create such videos. Thanks for watching. I will meet you again in our next chapter. Bye bye.